So on Friday I said we'll make this video, and here we are today getting right into it, looking at Kid's crew at the end of Wano, or maybe possibly even just for the rest of the series. And I think that there was one other video I wanted to make before this one, but I'll just try to include bits, because if I wait too long, all the stuff I'm about to say might actually just come true, and I'll just be there saying it at the end as if, I don't know, it just wouldn't make sense to say it afterwards. Anyway, let's just get into this really quickly. I think the first thing on the list that Kid, the first thing that Kid will need to become a relevant character again is you liking and subscribing to the channel, right? I see a lot of you guys come here, you enjoy the videos, but you're not even subscribed, right? So I don't know why. I really don't understand what it is. So if you haven't yet, subscribe. If you're worried about spoilers, check the description. Don't need to be a daredevil, but if you're up to date or you are a daredevil, then come, let's talk about this. So one thing that's important, I think, that is already being seen is, the first character, I guess, is Hawkins. After that fight with Killer, we're beginning to see more and more of, just some of the stuff which will kind of lead Hawkins, I guess, into joining Kid's crew. Right, and that is a big thing of, Hawkins and his probability, because at some point, we all assume that, okay, the probability will shift, and then Hawkins will be like, hey, it's greater for me to be on this side than, Kaido's side, so I'm going to switch sides and, take the biggest opportunity. But I think that where we're going, I, for one, was on that train for a while, but I think where we're going now, just with Hawkins probably joining, is that, yes, he's seen the tower, the card of the tower, but I think he's realizing that, look, it's one thing to go on the side of more probability, but there is, great change that is possible that can only be, achieved by going against the probability. Now, as a character who does not know how to do that, he's never done that his whole life. He's always gone with great probability of, getting what I want. If I do this, then he goes down that road. Then I think Hawkins is not well equipped, but watching Kid do that, because the Kid, Hawkins, Powerscale, and that is all connected, right? It's not like they're all looking towards Luffy as some messiah to be like, oh, Luffy is the greatest person, but right, Hawkins looking at Kid, seeing that this guy, through everything that he's been through, he's still fighting against the odds and possibly about to defeat Big Mom. You know what? I'm gonna say, yeah, Kid beating Big Mom later on in this arc, along with Law, of course. So that is one thing that has started, right? Of course, this being started by Killer, I expect to maybe find a bit more, because it's not yet done. It's not, this fight is not it. It's not like Hawkins going to be like, I'm joining Kid's crew after this. There's still going to be more, but it's not going to be by way of fighting, more by some dialogue, by some stuff which will be shown rather than said. But Hawkins is already on his way. Next character is Apu. A lot of people were disappointed in that interaction between Kid and Apu. They're like, he didn't even really do anything, even though, Apu's on who set them on this path. And you're right. People say that, because Apu's on who set them on this path, he can't join. But I think that the interaction is not over just yet. There is still more to be said between the two, still more to be shown and seen. And Oda is going to slowly do that. He's revealing it slowly as we go. I don't know what the order of the battles in Onigashima will be as far as resolution, but I do know that at some point we're going to see the Apu and Kid storyline, that whole thing get resolved. And I think a big part of that is similar to Hawkins, where Hawkins is like, look, you can't fight against these probabilities. Apu's like, look, just because we teamed up together, you think we can defeat the Yonko? These guys are monsters. Echoing similar sentiments to Hawkins. But this time, Apu seeing that, look, Kid and Law on their own, well, from his perspective, Kid and Law beat Big Mom, right? That is crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Meaning that, if he had actually teamed up with these guys before, he could have been part of this victory. He could have been on the winning side of history, right? So I think that is, part of the storyline that's going to be resolved between Kid and Apu. Apu seeing that, look, Kid has this potential, right? And it's not just if we band together, right? It's if we band together with Kid. There's something about not just being in an alliance, but being able to follow Kid, right? And seeing Kid's strength and tenacity, and just the fact that, similar to Luffy, he doesn't just win. It's not like one-on-one Kid will win. right? He keeps fighting. He takes some L's, but he keeps going and pushing. And in the end, he does get it. It's a bit similar to Luffy. So seeing that side of Kid, I feel will start to resolve the whole storyline with Apu. And, later on, we will finally get Hawkins and Apu joining. Now, as far as Hawkins, I think that Hawkins hasn't shown everything he's capable of as far as strength, like the strongest he can be. I'll say go watch my top 5 most difficult characters to Powerscale, and I explain a bit more about what I'm talking about with Hawkins in that video. He's there. So go watch that, it'll make more sense. But as far as what kind of power these two add to Kid's crew, it's insane. It's absolutely insane because they're supernova. I know a lot of people actually, sorry, not characters, people in the fandom community do not think that much of the supernova. They don't think that they're that strong at all. And I've heard some stuff which I think is pretty crazy to say, comparing other Straw Hats to these supernova characters. And I think that's one thing that should not be done under any circumstance. Because if you look at the story, just think about it for yourself, right? I'm not even going to say much, but just think about this for yourself. As much as Luffy and Zoro have sometimes been played up to be stronger than the rest of the supernova, you will never find a moment in the story in which the rest of the supernova have been put on equal footing with the rest of the Straw Hats. It's never like that. Even when Luffy and Zoro seem stronger, it's never like, okay, Luffy and Zoro seem stronger, so the rest of the Straw Hats are as strong as, people like Frankie and Robin and Brooke and Nami and Usopp. No, it's never been like that, right? It's either the supernova are portrayed to be a bit below Luffy and Zoro or on the same level. So essentially, I mean, you can probably add Sanji into that, for obvious reasons, being that Sanji wasn't a supernova just because of the way things played out for him in the pre-time skip. But essentially, each of the supernova are, just as good as having someone on the monster trio as far as portrayal. Yes, sometimes it doesn't seem like that, but you have to admit overall, Oda's never shown them to be so much weaker and useless. Right, even just the Tobiropo situation in which Drake was a Tobiropo, but Oda essentially removed Drake and essentially removed Apu and Hawkins from the Beast Pirate side and never let them interact with the Straw Hats. Even through Wano, the characters that have been interacting with and fighting against the supernova have been the monster trio. It hasn't been anyone else fighting with them. And of course, the battles are very, very convoluted. They're not as cut and dry as people make them. But point is, supernova is just as good as someone on the monster trio. So you already have Kid, Killer, now you're adding Hawkins and Apu. That's like 4 characters as good as the monster trio. That is terrifying, and in the very least terrifying. So I think the overall strength of Kid's crew is shooting through the roof. Now, one last character that I do think has a great possibility of joining is one of the Tobiropo. Not Drake. Drake, leave Drake. Everyone kind of knows that Drake is now a suspect guy. I don't think anyone would just be like, oh, you want to join? Sure, hop on board. So I don't think it's Drake. I do not think, Ulti and Page 1. I thought for them before, but the issue with Ulti and Page 1 is that they have such a strong relationship with Kaido, having found out that they have been adopted by Kaido, and Kaido raised them. I think that it would be a very weird situation if Kaido goes down, then Ulti and Page 1 are like, alright, see you later, Kaido, we're joining Kid's crew. Right? And on top of that, there's no real seeds for anything. It's really going to be a forced argument of just, they seem like they could, have more pirate adventures after this. But no real storyline at all. Same thing with Black Maria. Same thing, who has his own entire storyline with the government. So the most probable one is probably Sasaki. Now, of course, again, I'm going to admit there's no real storyline going on for Sasaki, but I do see some stuff which may lead to a storyline involving Sasaki, his character, his love for interacting with strong individuals, him wanting to drink with Kaido, following Kaido because of his character. Yes, he is a problem child of the Tobiropo, but I could see Oda starting to build up something, right? He's the most likely as far as his character, the way he acts. And, if he becomes a member of Kid's crew, he could have that rivalry. He could have Luffy and Kid rivalry, although people think Luffy's a bit better. Zoro and Killer, although people think Zoro's a bit better. And then you can have Frankie and Sasaki, although, people think that Frankie's a bit better now that he's won, which, I can't really argue with. But point is, you could have this little rivalries going on, the relationships between the different characters. So I think Sasuke of all people in the Tobiropo makes the most sense. And any other characters, I think not. Now, is this a lot of characters to be joining Kid's crew? It does feel like it. It does feel like it. But really, at the end of the day, only one new character is going to be joining, which is Sasuke. The storyline of Hawkins and Pooh has been set up since that time when they wanted to make the alliance and they were betrayed. So that is just an ongoing storyline. It was kind of like, yes, these guys are joining. At that point, they were joining. Now we're just going through this whole process of how it makes sense that it's not an alliance and that they're joining, assimilating into Kid's crew. And that's this long storyline. The only person who's being added now is Sasuke. So essentially, you could look at it as, Hawkins and Apu had already joined. It's just there've been some struggles within, the dynamic of the three, and now it's going to be resolved after this. And now the only person who's actually going to join as well is Sasuke. So it's not that many people when you look at this as an ongoing storyline. But yes, at the end of the day, you have someone, basically a Tobiropo, and two basically monster trio level characters joining this crew as well. That will make them a frightening presence. Now, of course, if Yamato joins, that does destroy the balance between Kid and Luffy's crew. But for the most part, I think that is very well balanced. I mean, yes, we could go into the semantics of it, but overall, just looking at it, it feels really well balanced. Again, going back to the fact that the Supernova are always compared to the Monster Trio, maybe the Straw Hats having a slight edge, but the rest of the Supernova are always portrayed to be on the same level as these guys in the Straw Hat crew. So having a bunch of characters like that on one crew is terrifying. But let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel about it. Kid's crew, is this it? Do you have any good ideas, right? And not just, yeah, this is a strong character to join, but why does it make sense for that character to join, and so forth. As always, guys, like this video if you like the video, and subscribe for more content like this. If you know someone who needs to hear the truth, needs to see a bit more about Kid's crew, respecting Kid, and more of the Kid hype that's about to come out, I'm excited for the next few chapters. So guys, stay tuned. This is King KZ, and I'll see you in the next one.